Says successfully defended his world heavyweight championship.
Buddy Rogers strut.
Kowalski's got him right where he wants him.
Dory Funk Jr. wanting that world heavyweight championship.
10 pounds of pure gold.
Simon Felder's Dusty Rhodes has just become the world heavyweight wrestling champion.
Presenting the greatest organization in wrestling history.
We always deliver on our promises at the National Wrestling Alliance.
Yeah, but pretty hard, and look at what are you gonna work now? Oh!
Hey everybody, it's Durger time. Thank you for joining me for another episode of NWA, the Dynasty. We are back, episode 1. We had episode 0 on Friday that was released, and some great feedback, some awesome opinions on who we might want to hire. So there's a lot of enthusiasm, so thank you. I'm really excited to get back into this. I wanted to take a few minutes just to clarify a few things and to go over some things in the save that we didn't in 0 that I think might be important to know here. So a few questions have come up about whether this is a continuation of the Billy Corgan's NWA save or whether it's a new thing. And the answer doesn't really provide much clarity, which is sort of yes to both. It's both a new thing, but it's also a continuation. So if you're a new viewer, thank you for coming in. We have run for 4 or 5 years and Billy Corgan's NWA save. It's kind of rebooted as we moved over to a new game. We moved from 2016 to 2020. But for the most part, the storyline's been the same. In some regards, this is a continuation of that, but it's really more of like a reboot. We are going to wink and nod and address things that had happened in the past. So, for example, Brian Pillman Jr. was our champion, and he will still be addressed as a former champion. Or, we have a commentator who originally was a partial owner called Paul Pinky George III, who's a created character that Vink Vavazur plays. He's still here, and he still has that. So everything that has happened in the previous save has happened here, but we're not continuing any storylines. We're kind of starting fresh. So there's going to be some winks and nods to the past, and the past did happen, but we're not going to carry over any storylines. So it's going to be a relatively fresh start. If you're a new viewer, you're not going to have any problem starting day 1 here, I think. If you want to go back to the old stuff and watch it, you'll probably pick up little bits and pieces that there might be some nods to, but for the most part, that it's really just going to be kind of a fresh start with a little bit of a history from the previous game. So don't worry, if you're brand new, you're going to be able to watch it, no problem. Some of the other things that we didn't go over, I wanted to touch on, is some of the things I did to the database. So the database is not 100% accurate because things constantly change, and there are some people that aren't in WWE that should be in WWE, and there's people that are probably leaving WWE. They're still listed as contract in WWE. So there's a whole bunch of weirdness with the database, because at some point I just had to say enough's enough, and I could spend all my time trying to get it to be right. But ultimately, we're 1 year. Well, we're 6 months in the future. So we'll say a lot of things could happen. So there's some people like Candice LeRae is still unemployed because she just showed up, and I had already completed updating the save, and I'm not going to do that. Or I think I forgot Dakota Kai returned. So there's some people that are free agents. Some people we might utilize that aren't real. It's not a 1-to-1 recreation, right? That's fine. I'm not too concerned about it. We did add some dramas, so I think CM Punk. I tried to keep up with the drama from AEW. So CM Punk is, I believe, out correctly with a torn pectoral. He's got bad behavioral issues there right now. All of the Elite have issues. So depending on how the AEW AI handles all 4 of these guys, who knows what's going to happen there. It's all up in the air there. So we have that. set correctly. The other thing that I did is, because we're so focused on trying to rebuild the alliance, I realized that we, especially the United States, needed just a little more love in the independent scene. So if I were to go to US, I mostly centered around the US. I think I added one Canadian company, but for the most part, the ones that I knew, I added some additional companies. They're very small companies. We're talking, tiny to insignificant. Don't know what's going to happen with these companies. Some of them might go bankrupt. Some of them might grow bigger. But ultimately, the goal is that these might be companies that we want to fold in to our alliance, right? So I wanted more companies that were smaller than us, so that it made a little bit more sense when we were poaching people to join. So we have some pretty standard ones that are not, nothing unusual. We added more of the championship wrestlings. There's some weirdness about championship wrestling right now. It's kind of in limbo, but they were currently part of an alliance, and I had that alliance represented. So David Marquez has an alliance set up for his own thing. All of the championship wrestling brands got bundled together, and they're doing super shows. But for the sake of the game, I've added them all back in. So Arizona's there, Hollywood's there, and Memphis is there. They don't have a lot of workers, so they could probably hire people out. Championship Wrestling for Hollywood has the most. But, we have other ones there as well. Devotion Wrestling in Utah is here. Not a lot of people. We also added some extra wrestlers into the save. I also downloaded the Real World Chronicles Plus database extension, which has been awesome. It added a lot of new indie wrestlers, but there's some people that are even so obscure that they didn't know. So no one had Manny Lemon Smith, so I added Manny Lemon Smith, who I believe is the owner. Actually, it says has no owner, so that'll be interesting. But I don't think these are very accurate. I just kind of roughly put them in place, just to have these other interesting, very small, very local companies to represent a broader independent scene and potentially play around with, because we might add them to the alliance. We have Dynamite Championship Wrestling in Delaware, who I added a few extra people in here that weren't previously there. I got Corey Castle, who also has a YouTube and is a wrestler that I personally know. That is always a cool little addition. We might actually add him and play around with him. That'd be kind of fun. I think that might get a kick out of that. We have Garden State Pro Wrestling, which just started. I don't even think, I think when I set this up, it didn't even have its champion yet. So there's a whole bunch of things. All of these are very, very rudimentary setup, but they might be something that we will add into our alliance. So that's why I kind of added them. I added H2O, which I think technically was part of the Real World Chronicles Plus, and I just added some extra people to it. Innovate Pro Wrestling's back. Keystone State Alliance Wrestling in Pittsburgh is here, with some additional ads like Sly Scarpone added in there. So maybe some of your favorites from your local wrestling companies may have made it into the save. Just some additions that weren't previously a part of it. New Texas Pro Wrestling, Northeast Pro Wrestling, Ohio Valley added back in. Has nobody but Al Snow loaded in, so I'm going to let him just kind of do whatever he wants. There's a lot of weirdness and potential here that we've added over the time. That Rise Pro Wrestling, obviously. St. Louis. So, as you can see, a lot of additions, a lot of weird, smaller companies that they're not going to be competitive to us. They might go bankrupt, but there might be opportunities for us to buy, to rebrand, to add to our alliance, just to add a little extra flavor to the save. So, that's sort of the goal. Some of the other roster members that we didn't mention, a lot of them tended to be not non-workers for the most part. So some could. So there were some questions. Yes, Brandy Rhodes is here. She's a manager for Cody. She's also a personality. She also technically is an occasional wrestler, so she can wrestle. I probably shouldn't have added Glacier, but he's because he's mostly a road agent. But we kind of mentioned him already. Trying to think of anybody else in here. Joe Galley for our commentary team. Camille managing. Nick Aldis. Anybody else that we didn't mention? We have a pretty bare bones roster right now, but we're adding a ton more already. Mickey James, who's technically a wrestler, I'm probably almost exclusively going to use as a road agent. We might have a storyline with her, but I don't have a real attention, like a real focus on right now. Mike Pero, I just added. I didn't add to that one. I'm going to add his tag team partner so we can have The End join us. Anybody else that we mentioned? Tim Storm Jr., obviously. Yeah, that's about it. But there was a few that didn't get showcased in our episode 0 that are here. Aaron Stevens we brought back as a wrestler, though also should be probably listed as a personality. And let me see if I can get him to do that. I'd also like you active as an on-screen personality, which I'm sure he'd be more than happy to oblige. So yeah, that's sort of our core roster. It's very light. We're missing a lot of teams. We don't have a lot of teams yet. We have the Hex, which is women's team, which we're probably not going to have any women's tag teams for a while. Killer Elite Squad, which I honestly don't even know if I'm going to run as a tag. They might be 2 individuals. Outlaw Inc., again, on again, off again team. So we really don't have a lot of teams. That's been a big focus of trying to hire some people. So some of the people out of the gate that some people had recommended after episode 0, I think would be really good gets and additions. Lance NOI, again, going with that sort of generational thing. And we also have, obviously, Jacob Fatu. We could do something interesting there. Casey Navarro, who's really skilled. I don't know much about him. I think he's Diamante's brother, and that's about all I know. But it might be a good get for us. Jordan Oliver, the Billington brothers might be a good tag team for us. Somebody recommended Ricky Knight Jr. I think that's a good idea because, again, another family dynasty, kind of outshadowed in some capacity by his sister. Colt Cabana, someone said, hey, where the hell's Colt Cabana? And yeah, you're right. Where the hell's Colt Cabana? We're going to bring Colt Cabana back in. Thunder Rosa we're going to bring back in because she used to be our women's champion, and I think she would make a good addition to our women's division. Again, another person who might be good in a stable. In addition to our women's division, we have Nia Jax. We'll bring in. Again, this is one. Dakota Kai's in our save in WWE, so we're gonna give it a shot and see if we can grab her. Kimberly will return. Jamie Hayter is available. I don't see why not. Just some referees we need. Thinking about bringing back Sean Hernandez a little bit. Odinson. So that'll bring The End in. Eddie Pearl and Ricky Gibson from Championship Wrestling for Hollywood. Alley Cat. The Clones. All 3 of them. Someone had recommended as a good Dynasty get, and I think that's a good idea. Black Taurus because I love them. Mikey Nicholas. Shane Haste. I doubt this is going to happen. I think they're about to get scooped. But that is sort of the plan here. So that's some of the gets. I'm open for more. I always like to have more wrestlers than less. So if we can get a few more, sounds cool to me. Not a big deal. But that's sort of what we're working with here. All right. So let's go ahead. Let's fast forward. And then we will get to our first episode. All right, guys. We are back. We bloated this roster already. 56 wrestlers. That's okay, though, because we're looking at our events and TV. What we're doing is we're recording NWA Worldwide on Mondays and showing it on Saturdays, which is fine. Pretty much somebody at some point in the week is working somewhere. So, we could book on Saturdays, but on Saturdays, 3 Saturdays a month, we can't get Black Taurus, including our pay-per-view. Sucks. But on Thursdays, we pretty much can't get anybody from MLW or Impact. On Wednesdays and Tuesdays, we pretty much can't get anybody that's working at AEW. Mondays seem to be, and Fridays, occasionally is a cluster. Fridays may end up being not too bad, but, Lance Archer's out 2 of them. And then on one Friday, GCW is working, and we have a whole bunch of people that are on GCW that aren't available. So, yeah, it's a big cluster. So far, from the look of it, Mondays, we have the first week of Monday, or first Monday of week 1. Alley Cat, Homicide, Jordan Oliver, Mance Warner, and Ricky Morton can't wrestle because we're doing a GCW show. The second week, the third week, the fourth week are all completely clear. And then we have a bit of a problem with our Sunday, in which Black Taurus and Thunder Rosa are not available. So certainly not the end of the world. Maybe I'm thinking maybe we actually run our show on Monday and air it Monday and put our pay-per-views on Saturday. Because week 4, we can see nobody is doing anything. I think that's actually the best option here. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to modify the show. Luckily, we are just on independent wrestling. I think I didn't mention that. We don't have our, we're real small. Again, we're real small. So our broadcasting is IWTV for our show on demand. What's great is that it's minimum quality and it expires in 2 months and 3 weeks. So our plan is to get all the IWTV as fast as possible. Right now, not a lot of people are interested. Mav is kind of interested. They weren't interested at the start, so that's kind of interesting. Not sure. They're long. Our show's longer and they're willing to negotiate, because that's really what we want, though. I don't want a show that is 1 hour. I want 1.5 hour minimum, 2 hour preferable. And that's because most of our matches have to be longer, and I want to have as many people on as we can to avoid those issues with being left off a show. YouTube won't let us. Twitch won't let us. Mav TV won't let us. Fight for internet pay-per-views. I don't know if we have a deal set up yet. We probably should. I am fine with a year, I think. Let's do 6 months, just in case something else pops up. I can't imagine much is going to pop up better than a fight for us right now, but we might be able to get a better time slot. Late evening, no. Late night. It's not keen on us having that spot. What can we get for our cut? Not willing to do that revenue split. Well, yeah, I can't imagine you will be willing to do 70%. Okay. %, 35%. Okay. So let's jump into 3 months. Here's our thoughts. We can get on late night airing on Fight TV for our pay-per-views. We're going to pay $7,500 per show for that. I don't know how much money we will make, but what we do know is that the late night's going to be a much better time slot than Graveyard or On Demand. On Demand, they're going to be totally fine with us being on no matter what, but we're at the whim, right? We're not promoted anywhere. Afternoon, they're not willing to. Early evening, they're not willing to. Evening, they're not willing to. Prime time, they're not willing to. Late evening, they're not willing to. Graveyard, they're willing to. That's even worse. I'm going to do 3 months. This could be a mistake, and you guys will tell me. But I, in my heart of hearts, feel like this is the better option. Let's pay for the time slot. I would rather lose money on the pay-per-view or break even on the pay-per-view, but get more eyes on a more important show right now. We'll do it for 3 months. It's not the end of the world. At most, we're only looking at about 21,000 or so in the hole. If for some reason we make no money on our pay-per-view whatsoever, which is silly, we would only be $21,000 down, but we'll have a lot more eyes on the show. To me, that's more important. And I think that makes the most sense. So we're going to go with that. If we need to, we renegotiate for another 3 months. Hopefully by then, maybe we can get bumped down into a lower slot. We really want to get up to small as quickly as possible, right? Because we're going to be expensive. I'm not going to lie to you guys. We're going to be an expensive show, I think. So let's go ahead. Our first pay-per-view is going to be Crossroads. I got to get a logo for it. I'll set that up soon. It's going to be a 3-hour show. I think we're going to run it Saturday. And then our TV show, we're going to have air on Mondays. Now, that puts us at a disadvantage, maybe, with... I don't know. Actually, I don't know if that puts us at a disadvantage. Because our coverage for that show, where do I see who else is running that same time? I never remember. You know, we're going to be one of the least viewed shows pretty much here on a Monday. But I believe... Where do I see this? Modify show. There's a way you can see who else is running. Now, we're on an on-demand slot, so we're not even running live. You know what I mean? We're probably fine. So we could probably try to upgrade our deal or adjust the time slot for, but I really doubt that they'd be willing to do anything. Actually, they only have on-demand because it's a subscription service, apparently. So we're not going to run into any time slot issues on Monday because basically, if you're going to watch NWA, you're going to watch it at some point. We're going to get some eyes on it. How many? Who knows? So that is what it is. Okay. So we did some hiring. Unfortunately, we were not able to get the mighty Don't Kneel. They have, one half of them decided to go with a WWE contract. The other one, I decided to not accept the contract because I wanted them as a package deal. So, unfortunate for them, but that is what it is. Now, we have teams. Again, we have the Dynamic Duo from Britain. I think will be an interesting addition. Very small team. Babyface and heel, that probably won't work. I mean, that would work if we wanted to break them up, but I don't really have any intentions of doing that right now. So where's the bailing pins here? Okay. Works heel. Turn, you've not debuted. Perfect. We'll have them start as baby faces. I probably should do some math here and figure out what my dispositions are. I know I've mentioned it before, you generally want more heels than faces. So we have a pretty decent amount of heels. How about faces? We have more faces, so that might actually be a bit of a problem. Ross and Marshall are our tag team faces, and that is correct. Let's look at our teams real quick. Hope you guys like some backstage stuff, because you're going to get a lot this episode. Okay, well, these guys were heels. I would imagine. I can't imagine they're not. Heel, babyface, heel. Midnight, heel, babyface. That also needs to change. Eddie Pearl, we want to be heel. Really should have done this before I was recording. I apologize, but we will get this set up. Colognes, both heels. I don't know about that. I don't know if I want them as heels. Because I think Carlito is a face. Carlito's a heel too. Yeah, it's fine. If they're all heels, then I'm fine with it. So heel team, baby faces, even though they're not really a tag team, they're sort of on and off again. Killer Elite Squad is mega heel. Billingtons are baby faces. That's probably fine for now. The End should be both heels. Rock and Roll Express are baby faces. Von Erichs are baby faces. So seems fine. I'm not sure about these guys. I gotta do a little bit more research on whether they play a face or heel more. So maybe you guys could tell me, those that are familiar with the Billington brothers, the dynamic duo. But that looks about right. It gives us about 4 heel teams, and then 1, 2, 3 tags. So a little heavy on faces for the tags. I probably want 1 more heel team. But not too bad. Some people have the philosophy it should be even. I don't think it should be even. I think you should have a few people that you have faces as, and those are your stars, and that's what you work towards. And then you have more heels than faces because you want more matchups for your faces to have interesting, people to face. So I would say it's like, should be like 60-40. 60% of your roster should be heels, 40% should be faces. That's my perspective. Let me know. Let me know in the comments if you agree with that, or you think I'm totally wrong. I'd be curious what your guys' opinions are in terms of booking. For women's, Allie Katch actually needs to be a heel. We're probably fine here. Else. Okay. Well, we're not going to worry about it. Okay. We got to book a show. It's going to be pretty simple right now. We need to get a tournament because we need a tournament for our Alliance title. So we're going to do 3 different things. They're not all going to be this show. They're going to be on a course of a couple shows. 1, we're going to do a tournament to determine the winner of the NWA World's title, which is currently our Alliance title. We still have a World Television title, and we have the Crockett Cup, which will be upcoming. Right now, the World Television title, I haven't decided how I want to book that yet, but I want to get the World's title settled first. All 3 of those are our Alliance titles. So, as I had mentioned in episode 0, we have all of our World's titles are Alliance titles, which means anybody in our Alliance can join. I'm not going to set anybody to join our Alliance yet until we get all 3 of these situated, so we don't accidentally have people put into the tag divisions or the or world title shot. I don't want any of the titles to be anything but vacant until we decide, and then we'll let it all go and let it go wild. I did find out that we actually do not have an alliance, pre-existing alliance set up for the championship wrestlings. So we actually could invite all 3 of these, and we might, and bring in the old NWA outreach of these companies in and bring them into the fold. That might not be a bad option for us, and to just bring them in now and start to support them. But we won't do that until after our pay-per-view because we want to get all of those alliances. So we're going to do an 8-man tournament for the World's title. We're going to do a battle royal for the women's, and that'll be, I think, at the pay-per-view. And then we are going to do something weird for the tag, which is I'm calling it the Hot Shot tournament, which is not a real tournament. What it's going to be is a bunch of the tag teams will be facing each other, and maybe some occasional local pull-in tag teams. And if you win, you get like a little token. And there's going to be 2 tokens. And whoever has the 2 tokens, whatever 2 teams have the 2 tokens by the end of the month, face each other. So they're going to be potentially moving back and forth, or one team's going to be holding on to one for a very long time. Obviously, two teams won't be facing each other if they have each of the token to prevent consolidation. That won't happen until the tournament or to the thing. So it's going to be like a little hot shot back and forth kind of thing. I don't know if that's been done before, but I thought it'd be kind of fun. It's just something different, so we don't just have two tournaments kind of going on or determining number one competitor. It's going to be something a little bit different. So that's sort of the plan for that. But let's go ahead and let's get on to the show. All right. Obviously, we're going to be in GPD Studios, which we still own. So that is helpful. We do have a backstage incident to deal with. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Ricky Morton, Tim Storm Jr., what are you doing? What are you doing, Tim Storm? Oh, he's taking him under his wing as a protege. Weird that his father wouldn't do that, but that's very nice. That's super cool. That will only help Tim Storm Jr., who we want to definitely build up as a star for us. You know, I don't know what we're going to be expecting in terms of ratings. I would think at least a 32 is going to be good for us. We have 151 fans, so we're not getting a huge, a huge amount of people here. We might look at playing around with ticket sales, but for now, we're going to keep everything static here. GPD Studios only has a capacity of 200. So, 151 is certainly not that big of a deal. Only costs us 200 to run it. Should be fine. And we're definitely going to be focusing on the Southeast right now and trying to boost this up and try to build up our prestige and our popularity within our home base, because we want to get up to small as quickly as possible, because that's going to unlock us some additional wrestlers that I have in sort of my short list that we can't get yet because we're too tiny. So definitely something we're going to want to work towards. Locker room controls, we can meddle, and I think we will. Trying to think of who we have. Well, you know what? We got a lot of relationships. Brian Pillman Jr., Dave Boy Smith Jr. are super loyal together, which is cool to see. A lot of positivities. Ricky Starks and Nick Aldis don't like each other. Nick Aldis and Ricky Dice don't like each other. And Thunder Rosa and Jamie Hayter have some tension between them. Let's try to maybe clear that up a bit. Will this work? I don't know. No, but it's worth a shot. Overall, our backstage doesn't look too bad, so I'm not too concerned about it. All right, let's go ahead and let's book a show. I'll catch you guys on the flip for our first episode of NWA Worldwide. Alright guys, we are back with 95 minutes on the card. We have 79% matches, 70% was expected by the fans, so we are not going to get penalized. We have no booking problems whatsoever. Little match heavy on this show, but that's fine, because I'm trying to see what our baseline is, We do move some stories along, so I'm pretty happy with how the first episode of Worldwide shook out. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what our debut show looks like. We start off rather good with a 60 segment. Dustin Rhodes comes out, very humble. He's in a suit. He's looking more like a backstage figure than an in-ring one. So we don't really know whether Dustin Rhodes is gonna wrestle. We know he can wrestle. He's not retired or anything, but we don't know in his capacity as owner of the NWA whether he's going to wrestle here or not. He addresses the crowd, grabs a microphone. The crowd is, very happy to see him, obviously. And he addresses it rather frankly. He goes, well, this has been a wild year, huh? When I heard the National Wrestling Alliance was going to be sold, it honestly tore my heart apart. This company has meant so much to the wrestling world. And so much also to my family. At its peak, the NWA was a rising tide that lifted all ships, providing a place for the best wrestlers of the world and from all around the country to showcase their skills and give back to the local communities all across the nation. It also has a deep personal connection for me, as it's the place that my father found success, the great late Dusty Rhodes. And in return, he reinvested his heart and soul into this company. There's a lot of Rhodes family DNA in this company, and to see it fall into the abyss, no, I wasn't going to let that happen. So we scraped and borrowed, and I made some deals, and we got the company. It's back. It's fresh. It's going to be a little old, a little new, and it's going to be better than ever. And that tide will once again reemerge from the ocean and lift the ships up once more. We start tonight with a fresh journey. Every title has been vacated and fresh, giving everybody an equal opportunity. We've set up a tournament of past champions and spotlighting new competitors, which we start tonight in both our main event and to open the show. Tournament of 8 hand-picked people going against each other, and at the end of it all, at our next inaugural pay-per-view, we'll be crowning a new NWA World's Champion. He unfortunately gets a gimmick of poor for his natural gimmick, but it got the crowd hot. It got him off to a great start. So we know there's going to be a tournament. All the titles have been vacated. We're going to start the show off with a tournament match, and we're going to end the show with a tournament match. It's important to note that not all the competitors have been told who they're going to face. So what we do know is that Ace Austin is going to be facing somebody in the open of the show, and we know that Ricky Starks is going to main event the show and have a match. So that's all we know. We're going to get into it. Ace Austin comes out ready for his match, but grabs a mic before he's ready to go. He is very upset about how this entire thing has shaken out. He goes, "This is bullshit." You know, it's funny. You got different owners, different logos. It's the same old garbage decisions. For 6 months, I've been on the shelf, as long as other members of the Smoking Aces, the hottest stable in all of wrestling. And what do I look at when I turn to look at my mantle? Wow, there's the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship, the 10 pounds of gold, my championship that I fought for. And now, after bringing it back to work, I've been told that new management, I'm not their champion anymore. That it's a fresh start, huh? Oh yeah, that's great. It's a fresh start. For who? Not for me. It's absolutely disrespectful. I held this championship. And now, I can kind of understand, okay, well, we're going to do a tournament, but now I'm told I have to be in the tournament? I don't even get a bye? I have to be in there with past winners for a fight, a chance to reclaim my belt? Back of the line, they said, Ace Austin. You know, my back is destroyed for carrying this company, while Carney's sold it for crypto, NFTs, and for sponsorships at garbage restaurants. The disrespect is unreal. Well, let me tell you, I'm going to get my belt back, and I'm going to stand with it in the center of the ring, and you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to set it on fire and burn it to ash. So Ace Austin, a little pissed off, got the crowd hotter, got a 44 for this segment. Smoking Aces, we know, are back. Ace Austin was our champion in our last save. He was the final champion that we had. A person who in the real world, many people felt like should be at a higher standing than he was in Impact. Obviously, there's a bit of a chip on his shoulder here, right? That he finally obtained something and it's been stripped away. It's honestly quite understandable. Like, I would be pretty pissed off, too, if I came in after having been the champion and been like, yeah, you're not even going to get to the finals, right? You're not even going to get a bye. You're back of the line. You're in the tournament with everybody else. It's a little disrespectful. So you can kind of relate to his feeling here. But he's a little hot under the collar. He's maybe not thinking straight. His mind's not on the prize here. He's got a little too much red in his eyes, right? He gets a challenger, which is Brock Anderson, one of the boys that Dustin Rhodes brought up, one of the upstarts. We know the tournament's mostly either former champions or people never handpicked as competitors, and Brock Anderson obviously was handpicked for that. And we see why, even though he has a pretty poor performance in here. Actually, it was a really bad performance at a 21. We have Brock Anderson defeating Ace Austin with a roll-up. Ace Austin's just distracted. His mind's not on the prize, and he lets his guard slip, and Brock Anderson beats him. You know, Austin looks dominant in this match for the most part, but that ego, that arrogance, what ends up toppling him. And we see that here. This got the crowd buzzing. They were really into this. Unfortunately, Brock's actual performance isn't great. Ace Austin's is good. It's 55. We knew it was going to be good. Overall, we get a pretty decent score for what our company size is. Like a 41 opening the show. I have no problems with this match. Brock Anderson, unfortunately, didn't do as well as I was hoping for, but we also want to build these guys up, so we know they're going to get weaker performances, but big wins like this, even if it was a roll-up, are going to do a lot to start to build their popularity, build their momentum. So, 14-minute competitive match. Ace Austin definitely was the dominant person on it, but was distracted, just too ego-driven, too angry, too hot under the collar. He made a mistake. Brock Anderson beats him. Our former champion, our last NWA World Champion, has now been defeated in the opening bout in the very first match of our new company. Ouch. Got the crowd buzzing, though. Really, people real happy with it. We have a gimmick change for our ref. Apparently, somehow our referee got a awful rating for her referee gimmick. I don't know how that works, but I guess she wasn't a convincing zebra. Moving on from that tournament match, we have Tim Storm Jr. versus Kerry Morton, just an exhibition match. Tim Storm Jr., obviously our fictional son of Tim Storm, who originally was retired, currently on our commentary team. This match doesn't do great, but again, we wanted to kind of build up some of our undercard here. Let's start to give them some wins. Tim Storm's okay. He's a 29. Kerry has a 22. It's a short match, so it doesn't do that great. Had subpar wrestling, but the crowd had a decent reaction to it, so they were happy with it a little bit. The announcing and commentary gave it a boost. Unfortunately, it's only a 25. It's not a great match, but it gives Tim Storm a win. Kerry Morton's competitive in it. Doesn't do that great, though. Afterwards, Tim Storm shakes Kerry Morton's hand in a show of respect. He walks up the ramp to the backstage, but before he can get there, QT Marshall comes out. It's kind of doing the slow clap to him. It's kind of confusing. He's not on a mic, so we can't hear what he's saying. Tim Storm Jr. is obviously looking a little confused about why QT Marshall, our road agent, is out there publicly clapping. And Marshall gets close to him and he whispers something. We can't hear what he's saying, but it seems like he's trying to recruit him or trying to manage for him. He seems like he's negotiating something. Tim Storm's hearing it. He looks a little confused. And then QT Marshall ends up kind of giving him a little pat on the shoulder before Tim Storm walks to the back. So QT Marshall's obviously up to something. He's kind of pinpointed Tim Storm a bit. And we do start a storyline here with QT Marshall here. Gets a 27. It's not a great segment. We have a pretty good exhibition match. We have Ramona Riot, our former women's champion. We haven't addressed what we're going to do with the women's division yet in story. So Ramona Riot, I believe, was our last champion. So I wanted her on the show. We have her fight Allison Kay. Another NWA, original in the real world. So it's kind of a nice little handoff. Here's our former champion facing a former NWA champion in the real world and having a match. Ramona Riot defeats Allysin Kay in 10 minutes, gives her the destination unknown. Ramona has a 52. Allysin Kay hanging in there with a 44, not looking too bad. Overall gives us a segment rating of a 53. Pretty happy with that. Kind of helps save us a little bit from the past two segments. So rounding out the mid card as we get to the last half of the show. Von Erich's, this match could have been better. A little upset here. I got to take a look at Kevin Von Erich, working with him as a manager. Apparently they don't work well together. I'm gonna change that around, because I'm assuming that something in the data is wrong, because I'm sure Kevin Von Erich and Marshall can definitely work well together. So their father's out there managing them. The Von Erichs are back again, bringing our tag champions. Some of our, one of the longest storylines in our previous save was about the Von Erichs getting to the top. Their titles is gone too. We haven't addressed what's happening with it yet. We're going to address it next week. But they're having a match against Midnight Heat. Marshall Von Erichs pins Ricky Gibson with a moonsault. Ross has a 36. Marshall has a 40. Eddie has a 29. Ricky has a 30. Very good adequates for all of the debuts for their gimmicks here. Only gets 37 though. It's not a great match, but it's not horrible either. So overall, we're seeing pretty decent ratings. Again, we got to build up their popularities, got to build up momentum for them again. But once we get there, I'm pretty confident actually both teams are not looking too bad. We brought Midnight Heat in as sort of a lower card tag, and I think they're looking fine. I mean, 30s, 29s, given a couple matches, given maybe a couple wins against some jobbers, we'll get them up even higher. I'm not concerned about it whatsoever. Afterwards, Marshall and Ross get the mic. This doesn't do very well. They've never been very great in the mic. I have Kevin Von Erich there as well, who should be better at the mic, but he's not that great either. But I'm wanting to give them some opportunity on the mic, so be it. We'll do it. They just grab the mic. Ross says that they're back. They're going to come for the belts. However they need to do it, they're going to do it, and they're promising to be the next NWA World's Tag Team Champions once again. So, we got that. Ross is helped by Kevin during the segment, so overall, still getting a little bit of support from the dad here in some of the mannerisms. We just got to figure out this and fix the relationship imbalance here with Kevin and Marshall, which I will tweak, because he shouldn't be getting a negative with it, but at the very least. So I'll take a look at it and see what we're looking at. Ricky Starks' main event here, and we get an entrance to the surprise of everyone, because it's been held a secret. Obviously, we knew as the viewers of this, but the audience did not. Ricky Stark's challenger is Cody Rhodes, who joins his brother. Cody and Brandy come out. It's just shocking because in the news in the world, obviously Cody had there was some rumors of contract issues. There was a rumor of some type of out clause at WWE. He was injured. He came back. He wasn't happy with his booking. We'll hear more about what happened, but basically, he had a very similar clause to what was originally offered to him in 2018, which the Elite and all of the Elite and Cody were offered by WWE something that involved like a 1 year out. Like if they weren't happy with their booking, they could just leave. Right? They didn't have to sit on the full contract. So apparently something like that had happened. Cody decided to come in and help his brother out. A big challenge for Ricky Starks here. He gets obviously a roaring standing ovation. Everyone's shocked that he's here. We get a 61 for it. The match itself is fantastic. Ricky obviously loses, unfortunately. but Cody is here, and Cody's gonna Cody. He defeats Ricky Starks in 20 minutes, pinfall. We have a Crossroads here, defeating Ricky Starks in a competitive match and moving on into the tournament. Ricky gets a very good gimmick for his absolute gimmick. I wanted to give Ricky Starks a main event, and even though he's losing, I figured this is going to give him a rub and give him momentum. So overall, I figured good opportunity here to put him in here. So Cody moves on. Obviously, we have Brock moving on, and we'll have to look at the tournament bracket, and I'll show you guys after this what our bracket looks like. It's only an 8-man tournament because we're only going to be doing it till the end of the month. So, a short tournament, but you know me, I like my tournaments. Gets a 63, really great main event for our show. Cody afterwards, bloodied up because he can't wrestle without blood on him. It's like a Rhodes tradition. Comforts Ricky Starks, who's upset about his loss a little bit. Holding his hand up. He's a good sport. We have got good guy Cody here. There's a little something in his eyes that are a little off. There's maybe a hint of something else going on, but Ricky Starks is superb working out of the script. Got everyone. He's acting. He's looking great. Cody Rhodes doing great. Get a great way to end the show with a good sign of good sportsmanship here, as he says, hey, Ricky, you should look out for him. This is a guy, right? Good way to end the show. Fantastic rating for us. We improve in all 18 regions. 59 is pretty much better than we could ever ask for the size of our show. And that's including some dumpers here that we're trying to, invest some time, some energy in our lower card to improve some of these guys. Overall, very happy with that. Let's go ahead and let's get back to the home office, and I'll show you guys that tournament bracket real quick. All right, so we got almost 17,000 viewers. That's actually really solid for our debut show here on IWTV. We did not make any money, but we knew we weren't going to. That's why we have the war chest. So, we're going to lose some money. That's fine. We're going to get some back with the end of the month sponsorship deals. I'm actually really happy with that. I think we did pretty okay here. I'm real happy with that. All right, so let's go ahead and look at tournament bracket. Oh, actually, before that, just curious. I can't imagine it was anything other than excellent, but we'll see what the audience felt about it if I can find it. Apparently New Japan's going to war. WWE and AEW. MLW. Everyone's fighting. That's good. As long as we stay out of it, we don't have to worry about it. So that's, always something to stay out of and let them all fight with each other. Probably our diary. I always like to just see what we look like. What's our buzz? Drew Hunter fans. That does not say. I would imagine it was probably considered excellent. I see our show here. Usually there's a little thing in here that will give us an indicator of what the crowd reception was. I can only imagine it was really positive with a 59. So I will certainly take it. I can't imagine we've seen any size increase yet, but definitely something we're going to be looking at very carefully. Actually, no, I think we're southeast is our home base, and it's still a 32. But we'll keep an eye out. We want to get to that 35. If we get that 35 and move up to small, which would be a really good boost for us. There's some wrestlers that I want to bring in that we could really use, that would be really beneficial to us, but they're not going to be interested in a tiny promotion. We're going to need to get up to a small, and that's going to also help us out for our negotiations for our broadcasting. All right, before we head out, our tournaments. So, very small tournament, but obviously we have Brock Anderson had beat Ace Austin, Cody Rhodes has beat Ricky Starks. We got Jacob Fatu versus Nick Aldis, and then Eddie Kingston versus Davey Boy Smith Jr. So kind of interesting. Again, we have former champions, except for Ricky Starks. I don't think he was ever a champion. But we have Ace Austin, Nick Aldis, Eddie Kingston. We're all champions. Tim Storm would have been probably our other champion, but is technically currently retired on our announce team. So Ricky Starks kind of in there as well. Versus some new faces. So, Jacob Fatu, new get for us. Davey Boy Smith Jr., new get. Cody Rhodes, a new get. Brock Anderson, a new get. So kind of that focus of here's the new and the old in some capacity. So big challenge for Brock Anderson is going to have to face Cody Rhodes next. And then we'll have to figure out who's going to win between Kingston and Davey Boy Smith Jr. and then Fatu and Nick Aldis. Overall, I think it's going to be a pretty good tournament. It's a short one. And obviously we have a little bit of time, but we have to quickly get our women's division in order, and then we have to quickly get our hot tag tournament, quote unquote, for our teams going, which we'll address in the next show. That's it from me, guys. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time.